And they did it right. Well, the last one did it right.
90.
I would say, well, that explains that.
The-
Yeah.
So I-
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving Bogus,
Present.
Wagner,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Davis. Cummings,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes,
line we have.
Mike, can be.
It's not coming. Or that, it's not coming.
pardon?
Deb's not coming tonight.
No.
No,
No.
and Dan won't be here either.
Okay.
All right. I am going to lump together the two regular meetings for the approval, and then we'll lump together the two executive session meetings, so.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve,
For the regular one,
regular.
okay.
Second.
Wagner,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes,
Okay, we'll do the same for the executive sessions is July 11th and also.
just a minute, Jim, did you want to have separate those two?
Probably should.
okay.
That was the one on July 11th.
Okay. So we'll do,
So I think we should have further conversation about it, not here, but later on about when we abstain and when we don't. I think it's kind of wonky, so I'm just putting that out there. We can do it now, but let's review that and go on later. So, Pardon me?
Yeah, Mark, we'll have that discussion to help.
By golly, you will.
Yeah. Just,
Okay.
we can-
Oh, that one did not
later.
get it.
It's legal for you to vote on both. You're just voting in whether there's an accurate record.
It can, it's fine.
It's legal to,
And then
but
have questions,
you're not-
thanks.
but
Yeah, I don't
if
have
you're
any
not comfortable because you weren't at that meeting, that's okay to. not-
No, I agree with everything in it. It's not an issue. It's not like it's.
Thanks, let's do
We
that.
we were just trying to figure out the right formula to do.
Would you
that.
want to make a motion and go on then?
Yep.
Make a
Yeah, that's
motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, are we doing it together? Yeah,
Put them
is that
together.
right?
okay. 1 second. So is it Art and Cameron again?
And, yeah,
Okay, Painter,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes,
Wagner.
Yes.
Sorry, both of those are 4-0. Yeah. 4-0.
Yes.
we want to turn those back into Joe session, so.
Joe, I'll have to reprint, I need to sign that 725 one, but I'll need to reprint that 711 one, I have those couple changes. So if you could throw me a copy of the 711, so I know the changes I need to make,
okay, I'll get this.
and then I'll get
Okay,
you those first thing tomorrow.
I am going to bundle the treasurer's report. And actually, if you don't have any questions in regards to the investments, I'm going to bundle the investment report and the investment report together. If you have any questions?
I do have one, usually, are they just not participating anymore?
They just didn't meet the deadline.
Okay, all right.
They get a notice every week ahead of whenever they're supposed to submit, and we just didn't submit.
Okay, all right, I just checking.
Sure.
So I make a motion that we approve the treasurer's report and the investments report as submitted.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, was that you next?
Yeah.
Cummings,
Yes.
Pratt,
Yes,
Wagner,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
4-0.
Okay, now with the bills. If there's no questions about the bills, is there a motion to approve the bills?
Make a motion to approve the bill.
Second,
Rath,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Cumming,
yes,
4-0.
Um, Any public comment out there? So, I'm going to, adjust the agenda just a tad here so that Jim doesn't have to sit through our entire meeting. Unless he just really absolutely wants to, he's welcome to do so, but, we'll go ahead and have Jim to come up and go over our strategic planning presentation. Everybody should have a copy of that in your packet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and with Board of Trustees. It's always a good and pleasure to be here with you guys. I enjoy working with you, and what we have tonight is an opportunity to go over the results of your hard work and dedication as we went through multiple hours of meetings back in May. We're going to look at the goals and objectives that you guys selected to pursue, look at the time frame that we've Joe and I put together for the successful accomplishment of the plan, as well as look at the vision that the board selected. Next slide. Just to recap, as I mentioned, we started this process a long time ago. Joe and I actually got together back in November to get this process started. Then we participated in a pre-planning brain dump session prior to our 2 meetings in May, which happened over the course at the high school. There we looked at the roles of whose responsibility is going to be to do what. Vision setting the vision for the village moving forward, did the goal setting, and then we worked to establish a 5-year program. Next slide. We had the kickoff meeting, Joe and I did. Of course, we did, as I talked about before, the pre-session 2-week brain dump exercise when I sent the email off to everybody, and Joe did a good job helping me get that through to you guys, getting your feedback. And we looked at that feedback during the session. And then, of course, we had from the community involved. We had the for the village staff involved, the board involved over at the high school. And then after we came up with you guys came up with the goals and objectives, Joe and I refined those. And then tonight, it's a plan presentation. Next slide. This kind of recaps it again, so I think I can kind of skip this slide. Yeah, go ahead, there you go. The village vision statement. This was what was brought forward from the 2 sessions. A village where people come to the school, staying for community and friends. Next slide. Goals and priority ranking. The village board developed 6 goals at the session. For Team St. Joseph to accomplish over the next 5 years. The goals were assigned a priority ranking during that last session. Champions were assigned to each goal. And then, of course, a reporting system was created. We talked about how often you want to hear reports on the progress being made towards these goals. And then a 5-year schedule was developed, and that's actually in your next slide. Champions, of course, if you guys remember for the plan to be successful, you have to have somebody driving the ship, somebody doing the work, somebody reporting on what the progress is, of what they're doing. And the executive management team was to provide oversight to some of the organizational-wide goals, but for the most part, we had precise people identified within that plan, and we'll talk about them in just a minute. Next slide. First goal, housing, pursue, which I term as Steve, pursue residential housing development within the village. The champions for this goal was the administrator and the mayor. You guys assigned a priority ranking of 4.65 out of 5, and there were 5 individual objectives identified underneath that goal. And of course, those objectives are lined out as far as what years you expect that work to be completed in. And of course, there's a reporting metric for that as well. Next slide. Infrastructure, I refer to as goal I. Plan, design, fund, and complete village-wide infrastructure improvements to meet current demand and future growth. The administrator again and public works director for that one, 4.63 out of 5 with 4 objectives. The keynote there is we're looking at meeting future demand as well as your current needs. So that's a 2-fold goal for the infrastructure. Now, what you'll see, hopefully, when you guys are working through your plan, when you have things on your agenda or you're referring to things in the budget, you'll have, you can use the terminology from the plan to make it come to life. It'd be goal I, objective 1, goal I, objective 2. That way you guys can refer back to why we're doing this, and Joe can say, hey, but per the strategic plan, goal H1, this is why we're doing what we do. It just makes it a little bit easier to refer back to each objective of the goal. Next slide. Goal G, support and promote community growth related activities and operations. You have, of course, the administrator and then the planning and zoning involved in that. 4.25 out of 5, there's 3 objectives there. That's basically preparing the community for growth, getting a position for growth. Next slide. Goal E, that's economic development, actively food support, commercial office and industrial development in the village. And the administrator, the chamber of commerce president, 4.19 out of 5. 5 objectives identified there, and we're going to talk about some of those with that goal and some objectives here on the next presentation. Next slide. Goal C, community building programs. Some great implement community building programs in the village. I used to see as a community. Village administrator, community advocates, 3.29 out of 5. So not as strong as the other goals, but still pretty strong. 4 objectives assigned to that goal. Then the next slide. Goal P for parks, pursue park facility improvements and develop park and recreation programming. 11 objectives, a lot of work to go into that goal. 3.7 out of 5, and the champion there is the entire administration. So a lot of work, a lot of objectives there, a lot of work to be done within that goal. A-level treatment consists of the keys to a successful plan. This is the kind of the nutshell of it. When we talked about putting the plan together, it's no sense in having a plan that's just going to take up space. It's going to remember what I talked about, how you can have a plan and it's so important to you. You've adopted the plan, you put it on your desk, and you're going to start working on it. And then a couple of weeks later, it's just getting in the way. So you move it over to on a table next to you. You have a credenza in your office, and then you're cleaning your office a month later. You stick it on top of the file cabinet, and it sits there for 6 months. Then you stick it into a file, but you're going to get back to it. And then 3 years later, you're talking to the court about retention. How long I have to keep that, right? So to avoid that, I'll go back. I'm preaching that one.
Okay.
So to avoid that, it's still key to have implementation, but to have successful implementation, remember, implementation starts with time. It needs to be achieved. The goals that we have defined, that you guys define, they are achieved. And the great thing about the goals, the way you guys did them, is you assign them to a time frame. You know, so you not only have what you want to do, when you want to do it. So they are achieved. You can follow it. There's a path there. Assignment. You did that already. You assigned the champions. The champions know who they are, and they've been assigned. Authority. So now it's up to this board, though, to give those champions the authority to accomplish the goals. And that comes with resources. Sometimes you have to provide some resources for them to do it. Action. That's what needs to be done. That's implementation. That's what the champions need to do. This board needs to do is take action on the plan. And then accountability, the last day, is the role of this board as well, holding those champions accountable. So when they come to make those reports to you, how much progress is being made? Are they actually doing it? You know, I can tell you that we did in your report with some other success guidelines. We did when I was out in Paducah. We assigned did I tell you about the color system we did? Things like that. We did a color system for our champions. We did a red, simple red, yellow, green. Everybody understands what that means, right? So every reporting for the reporting requirements, whether it's a quarter or 6 months or a month, we would score them based upon their progress. And then we report that to the community. Put on the website, we send it out to the media. This goal, this is what they've done, this is their score. They've got a green dot. I cannot tell you how many grown men and women came complaining about that they didn't want their bed. What do I got to do to get off of bed? So that's holding people accountable. They don't want that red. It's just like back in first grade with that gold star, right? In this case, here they wanted that green dot. It works.
You briefly touched on it, said what albeit that reporting, albeit quarterly or 6 months. Is that something we need to schedule? Go ahead and keep this. I mean, bring it up at a board meeting.
Yes. Yes. That's going to be within that report. Joe will have that coming back based upon that reporting structure within the document. So if it's 3 months or 6 months, it needs to be rolling back around, and it's in the plan itself.
Okay.
Great question. And that's how you hold that last one, the accountability. Next slide. Any more questions? Did anything go astray? Is this what you guys recall? It's been a few months. Did we hit the mark?
I think we did, and I just want to say that I'm thankful that Joe is here to help us champion that, because I can't imagine those of us sitting around the table getting all this done. So but we're ready to help. I'm not saying we're throwing you the wolves, but for you being champion to help us keep on track and all of that. So I'm excited. But I love this kind of stuff, so. Guess nobody else has anything.
Well, I just want to make sure that this, if we're gonna commit to this, that we review it, and if, say, like we have a new trustee, they need to have a thorough understanding of it too.
Absolutely.
It's not something you're thrust in it and trial by fire, but I do think it's worthwhile to go over quarterly, biannually, whatever.
Yeah,
Just-
so on the success page, he said that we will incorporate this into our meeting,
Yeah.
and so the reporting will be there, and so it'll be there. So I think it's great.
For a plan to work, you have to work the plan. You have to work the plan, just stay on top of it, make it, it has to come to life, just bring it to life, that's within your power to do that. And then, you can update the plan, you can look at it, 2 years from now, look back, 18 months from now, look back, say, hey, do we need to adjust, is it still where we want to be? Or, is this really so important to us, if something happened, that we need to do? Move on to the next one?
Sure.
Okay.
Great.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'll just give an introduction of why this presentation is happening. This is one of our goals. And we talked in the past about making more intentional effort at retail recruitment and other efforts like that. And just this is a good this is a potential solution for you to move in that direction. So that's why Jim is presenting this to you tonight.
I figured since you might be here already, it would be a good night to go ahead and just start working on this goal.
You roll it down. There it is, in action. So, as I said, objective E1 and also E2. E1 is slated for 2023, E2 is 2024. We're approaching the end of 2023, so it's a good time to get started. And then 2024 would be for the recruitment, incentivizing business to locate in the village. So Joe actually reached out to me after when we were working through the refinement of the goals, talking about some of the things I've done in other communities I've been in, and asked me if I'd be interested in doing that. I said, it's interesting you said that, because when I started my consulting business, that was one of the main things I thought I'd be doing, because I was really good. But it was hard to find traction in that area for some reason. One community wanted to do it, but they went a different way. They hired their full-time employee instead. I can do it much cheaper. Next slide. Economic development is a marathon, not a sprint. This is what I told Joe, and I will share that with you guys. As you guys know, anything worth doing, it's going to take some time. And economic development, I did it for 17 years, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. I can give you an example of that. There's one successful project that I worked on that has still not broken even. And I've been gone from that community for 5 years. All the infrastructure is there, the commitments are there, the land is purchased, but they still haven't built yet. It just takes time to get from deal closure to out of the ground. Sometimes those projects, larger ones, take time. Some are smaller. So you capture low hanging fruit, and that's what Joe and I talked about. There's regional players that I believe are good solid fits for St. Joseph. that we can hit as low hanging fruit. And then there's gonna be some major, larger retailers, it's gonna take a little more time, that type of thing. But so just remember though, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There's another business that I can tell you, I quoted, worked on, I went out to, every year I went to Vegas and talked to them. And they kept saying, no, no, no. But their grand opening should be next month. It takes time. You gotta stick with it, you know, it's one of those, it takes effort. Competing economic development philosophies, if we build it, they will come. I did that over in Ohio. We put an industrial park in when I was over in Ohio. Laid put the water sewer in, we put the street in, we did the planted trees, made it beautiful, made it attractive. And then I flew down to Dallas Fort Worth and recruited a cabinet company to locate there, and they did that. The program built, and unfortunately they closed there for a couple of years. If you build it, they will come. It's a philosophy. My philosophy has also been scratch and fall, but otherwise but it is pushing water uphill. So basically, you just gotta get dirt. You gotta do the work, and sometimes to make progress, you gotta get your hands dirty. And this is scratch and fall philosophy. You work hard towards it, and results come. I talked to a very affluent Chicago community who's looking for an economic vitality manager. And they said their philosophy there is pushing water uphill. So that's another way we're going to put that. What we're saying though is they get what we'll scratch and claw for here. They get that. They try to push water uphill because they want what they can't get. Right? In every community I've been in, you always want what you can't have, you know. So like for example, you bring a Menards to town, they want a Lowe's, right? You bring a Walmart supercenter to town, they want a Target. Right? So it's that pushing water uphill philosophy. The next one there is the economic development incentive toolbox. You have to have the right tools, and that's going to be part of this package. Is working to develop those right tools, the tools that fit your community. Working with other consultants to assist with that as well. I'm not a professional at creating tests or business districts, but I can manage those projects to get that done. But there's going to be tool sets that we'll reach out to other consultants to help with that, getting those right tools in place. That was a fair. That's a lack of economic intervention. There's communities that do that. They sit and do nothing. They don't incentivize. What comes, what doesn't. What will be. I've had people tell me that if they want to be here, they're going to be here. They're not. Those communities might be in a position to do that, but that's not the vision that I'm seeing from this strategic plan. I can't tell you, I've had situations where we used our toolbox and brought businesses to the community, negotiated a good deal for those businesses. They opened up, and then they would get the feedback loop would come back around to the local officials, the elected officials, who would have came for nothing. Well, you didn't know that. We negotiated a good thing, right? And guess what? Though? They're there, and they're still there. So were they or were they not? But so it's one of those risk type things. And the living effect. I talked to Joe about this. You guys know what livings are? Like little birds, right? So they always want to kind of follow one another, and they'll go to the edge, and one goes off, they'll keep jumping off as well, right? And that's what they do. So like when you go to Chicago or Vegas and talk to the retailers, we'll take some marketing materials, we'll put it down in front of them, and we'll say, this is St. Joseph. We'll show them, they'll take that, move it aside, and they'll pull up their own computers, they have it, Google Earth will pull it up, and they'll look at it and they'll go, I want to be right there. Because they want to go where everybody else is at. No matter what, it's that limiting effect type of thing. So the more you get, the more that will come, that type of thing. So starting out, it's expression clock with it, build the foundations. Again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Next slide. Sometimes past practice indicates future results, right? So if what you've been doing is producing what you want, continue to do what you're doing. If what you've been doing is not producing what you want, then the best thing is to change what you're doing, right? A quote there that I've copied down was, we cannot continue doing the same thing and expect different results. I've also heard it said that, which is, I guess it's been debunked, he didn't actually say it, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But I can tell you though, that I've done that. It's like, You know, when you're trying to like, get that nail to go into that bowl and keep hitting it, it keeps not working, you just keep doing it over again, hoping it works, but it doesn't, right? But yes, so this case here, change the results. Get the screw out, get the drill out, drill that screw in. Use a different tool, right? Next slide. What we're proposing here, after talking to Joe, we had a scope setting meeting, after talking to Joe, I went back and kind of did some thinking about it. What we're looking at doing here is some active economic development recruitment. Attending on your behalf, the ICSC, the International Conference of Shopping Centers, that's up in Chicago this fall, and then also out in Vegas this spring. We talked about that, we talked about that, the Vegas conference, at the planning session. That's where I had a lot of my success. When I went to those shows, usually I brought back home business. But as we're going, I can give you an example of that. Year after year, I went 7 years, year after year, you just go and you build those relationships, you build them, you talk to them, And see, but right now, there's quote, I quote one of my former bosses. She says, "Never be noticed by your absence. Be noticed by your presence." Right? So, St. Joseph is absent. You got to be present. You got to be able to win the game. You got to be able to play the game, right? And you're not in the game. So to be out there, to be in front of them, you got to get in front of them. You got to get in front of them, and it takes time, right? And so when I go at smaller communities as well, when I was over in St. Clair, Missouri, it's a small community on the interstate, just like here. And you just go, and you go, and you go, and then you build up those relationships with them. So one of the businesses I went to, so I would talk to them. I want you to come. Then, we're interested. We're interested. Then it became, we're going to come. We're going to come. So one meeting, I kid you not, I was walking up to them. I was probably from here to the corner there, the middle of the conference. This is actually, I see him in Chicago and Vegas, the middle of the conference. He said, he puts his hand up and stop. We've signed our commitment letter. We're going to be there. So they recognize you build those. Yeah, I no longer had to tell them who it was, So, and I see it twice a year. But it's repetitive because you're representing, and then they think to themselves, yeah, there's this guy keeps pestering me down in St. Joseph. And yeah, that's we need to take a hard look at that. That type, it just builds, which is good. The first conference is in October, so I encourage you guys, if you guys do want to proceed with this, we have to move quickly. We'll have to get registered and prepare marketing materials, that kind of stuff. Assist the village in the creation of economic development toolbox. That's some of that toolbox as well as that we're talking about programs, we're talking about policies, we're talking about getting in position where we need to be, and then also the green one down there, economic development marketing materials, website. I've already talked to a website provider about you guys. I thought that definitely for today about doing an economic development page or their site. She's very and she does really good work. And she's at EIU Grass. I like to support EIU Grass. But I talked to her about that today, and I've also have a graphic designer I've been talking to about the marketing materials. Deal making assistance. I've done that for years. I've talked to builders, developers, business owners, property owners. Try to negotiate best terms, but basically the parameters that you guys set. Then also provides like a little middleman type of thing where I can talk to them and then go back, and say, well, I don't know the rules isn't going to do that. He said, keep off you well. They go back, it works pretty good that way. Next slide. So what I'm proposing is dedicate 20 hours per month for economic development support services. And we can see as we go, if that's getting us where we need to be. I will not provide the economic development services to another community within 120 miles of St. Joseph. I have no other contracts like this. This would be the first. And I wouldn't do it again for anybody in your competitive market area. Attend the ICSC solely on your behalf. I wouldn't be going out there and saying, you need to be in St. Joseph and then take a step back and say, no, I want you to be in Danville. That's not what I'm going to do. And then, written report documenting the activity monthly, so you guys can see what you're getting for the money that you're spending on it. And then a quarterly report, which is aligns with the strategic plan. It came out in front of the board quarterly to tell you and the public what we're doing and the progress we're being made, what we can. But they can have done a lot of it has to be confidential. That could be a report that's done in closed session. And then a 12-month agreement to begin September. Again, remember it's a marathon, not a sprint. So the way I have proposed is a 12-month agreement between this with the monthly billing. And then that gives me some, I know that we're gonna be going spring, fall and spring and setting up meetings, that type of stuff. And then really want to hit the ground running with the some local property owners that Joe's talked about, as well as some local changes that's in the region. We don't have to discuss a few of those, getting out there and meeting them on their sides. I'll drive to their communities, meet them in their over headquarters, if you will, their original places, and see if I can drive with interest and have them come here. Next slide. Strategy, active recruitment. Franchisees, corporate retailers identified by the village. If there's people that you guys have in mind too, we're totally open to that, and I'll work with you on that. Also, we'll make those introductions of St. Joseph to the national and regional developers and retailers to solicit their investment. We'll look at assembling land along the I-74 corridor, and Joanne kind of talked about some ideas with that. And then quality of life, looking at a medical facility recruitment that goes hand in hand with their strategic plan as well. It goes hand in hand with their vision. Development of marketing materials, webpage, we talked about that already. And then another thing we have not talked about though is working, economic development is working a lot with state, county, village officials, schools, and their consultants to develop, this desirable toolkits. Getting them to Springfield, talking to the legislators there. Tell them what we're doing, tell them why we're doing it, getting up to DCEO to say, hey, we're here, we're going to play the game now, and we want your help, and then making those federal connections to, with the EDA, say, hey, and then making sure we're getting notifications sent out to us whenever there's anybody looking to do a factory in Illinois, and we can send that like to Locust, what our acreage is, what's available, that type of stuff. Just making sure they realize that we're playing, because right now. We're going to get off the signs. Any questions?
Well, what we got hadn't been working, so I'm in favor of going ahead and trying it. And the 120 miles, I don't see a reason why you can't compete with the Bears with Arlington Heights now.
You got the layout.
I agree with Art. I think, we've sat here, I think we're fortunate we've got, some new restaurants and things that we've added to the community over the last few years, but as we know, we've got some properties out towards the interstate that could have something more valuable to the community to help our tax base and just overall bringing something more for our residents and even the surrounding towns. I think we're in a great location that, I mean, there's two properties right off the top of my head that two of them have been sitting there unoccupied for a very long time. So anyway, I think it's a great plan, and I like the idea that, we obviously need to do something different to get something started. So I think it's a good direction to go, and it definitely ties into our strategic plan as far as making one of those first steps to start moving in the right direction. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
I think once we get started with that, having succession with a strategic plan and all of those goals will be, once we have some success under our belt, we'll feel better about it. It's kind of, anxious and trying to get it done, but I think we'll get there. So as someone said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Right on. Yeah.
Anything else?
well, if, the goal is to bring this back to the next meeting for formal approvals, and then we'll have a little bit of time to read through it and go over everything. If you have any questions for myself or Jim, you can reach out to us and ask, but then, but yeah, so this is an option for you guys to pursue, and, I think it will, it could be a success for us.
And it's I said about I, but it's a we. It's a team's approach, and that's gonna be, a lot of times, they wanna talk to you, they wanna choose the meeting, because you're the mayor. You know, that type of thing, so it's a we approach. But we'll have fun.
Right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the information you brought for us tonight, and Joe will be back in touch with you.
That sounds good, thank you very much.
Okay,
You guys have a wonderful night.
all right, you too. I am going to go back up to old business. We, in our old business, there's information in your packet on the latest information on the solar information. And we still need to decide what direction we might want to head with that, if we're interested in purchase or leasing.
Purchasing is. Takes funding that immediately away from us, where we lease it, it's. Practically.
And through the packet, I mean, that all the information that we've gotten from the consultant, everything, there's, you know, pros and cons for that. And like I said, they try to feed us as much information as possible so that, you know, trying to make that decision.
I feel like the upcoming projects that we have, they need that funding.
Well, I do believe that we can probably get. I think there's something called a green penny that we can apply for a loan to see if we would. What they would do as an interest rate, you know, we will get a big chunk of money back. I think within a year. Of, you know, this being finished. And yeah, you know, some other money's back on taxes or whatever that we can apply towards the loan. I personally think we're better off to buy it than lease it.
Why are you saying, just because of the?
I just don't see any benefit in leasing it at all. So I just think people who lease it, it just seems very shady to me, and I think they end up taking all the incentive money, and that's my personal opinion. So.
But we don't have any facts that back that up, kind of thing. That's just what, I mean, I don't know, I'm just asking, I'm not arguing, I'm just asking. trying to
Yeah,
understand.
what I've heard is.
What I think is that we're already maintaining any ground there. Anything, so it's not really like an expansion of duties. In fact, it ought to be less, so our current staff ought to be able to handle that. That being said, I don't know that much about it. But I go to page 30 where this guy and I read all the correspondence, and I think it's, I think he explained it pretty well. The only downside as opposed to that as a municipality, as a private individual, you wouldn't get the tax breaks, but we might have more incentives and everything being at a municipality. And like he says, I think you're better off to buy it. I'm gonna go by his advice. I think before I was apprehensive, but I think just go ahead and buy it. I think that I don't think it's gonna be that much of an extension of duties. There may be incentives. I think that besides, it may take a year to recoup that. But you also got to look at, once it's up and running, how much of a savings are you gonna have on the utility on the wastewater treatment plant? Because it's gonna be, it should be a significant saving. I would rather see us buy. According to him, the only really thing, you've already got it there, and it's an inverter that you might have to replace every 5 years, and other than that, it's just mowing it. I'd rather see our guys take care of it. Let's just say, well, I just assume we buy it.
To add, and I'm just adding some context, whenever Mr. Jefferson says that he would buy it, that is him viewing this and vacuum. To where if it was the only thing on his plate, would he buy this system? And that's yes for him, but he's not viewing it as a person that has many millions of dollars of other debt obligation that's in place also. So he's not viewing it that way, but we have no choice but to view it that way.
That's the problem, that's when.
Well, I'm not just adding a little context to his statement. I'm not trying to-
Well, I think there's several things. I mean, from him, the prevailing wage is an issue which increases construction costs, where he could go ahead and look at a low bidder like that. And I understand that. I just think overall, I'm just going by his advice. He knows more about it than I do. So we're getting ready to purchase other things too. So let's go by.
Yeah. My concern is the debt. With the economy being as uncertain as it is, I just hate for us to get, buying into something and then having things, I guess I'm not a gambler by any means. I'm not one to gamble on things at all. So I always lean way more on the conservative side. And so I guess I'm always very cautious of the unknowns. We don't necessarily get the tax incentives. That would be something that we need to find out for sure too, because we are a municipality. So it's not like we do a tax return like an individual that, you'll get those rebates back on your taxes. So I'm not sure how that, would work for our advantage as far as any of that incentive coming back. And then, like I said, to me, when I look at the as far as the energy savings, when you look at the lease versus the purchase, to me, they're relatively close. And so to me, if you lease it, you're eliminating all the risk. We're not risking our debt responsibilities. We've not put all that money into something that, you hope everything plays out the way that, we believe it's to me, there's still the solar, there just seems to be still a lot of unknowns. If it was my own personal house and I wanted to, go in debt or take a loan out and do that and anticipate getting that money back through a tax rebate and everything, that would be one thing. That's just, if we didn't have so many other big projects going on right now with the village, there's just a lot of money to invest in the solar. When I guess I'm still looking out 5, 10 years, even 20 years, that, are we really going to have that much of a savings in some of these unknown things that might pop up? Because, okay, so we do have to replace the transformer or whatever in 5 years. We have to, all those things in 5 years from now. The industry seems like with solar is changing so much. Are those even going to be available in 5 years? Because if some new technology comes along that the government decides to subsidize above and beyond solar, because I was just reading an article today talking about, a few years back it was ethanol. They pushed hard getting all these ethanol plants going and put lots of money in these different communities for the ethanol plants. And what the one in Tuscola, whatever plant that was, never did materialize. And Tuscola put a lot of money in marketing and getting that done. But ethanol's changed now with the school buses. It was electric, and I think they're beginning to see the electric vehicles are not maybe coming about quite like they thought they would. So now we're pushing propane. So now we're going to have all of our school buses be propane because it's better than the diesel and they're less of a carbon footprint. And, and that's all just been within the last 3 years, that we've gone from the government pushing electricity for your cars and, now they're pushing us to have electric appliances.
So with the leasing, can we pull out of it at any time then? So like if it changes in 3 years, we can say, forget this, we're not doing this anymore. you put in this field and you reap the rewards or whatever, but we no longer want to participate? Is that what you're saying on the leasing?
No, I'm pretty sure you gotta fulfill the term of it, but
So what does it matter if it changes?
Well, I'm just saying, if you're leasing though, you haven't put all that money up front. So you still have your $1 million here for the village, using it for other projects. To where, to me, if you know, buy it and then things don't happen the way, or things change in 5 years or whatever. Now you've invested all that money and maybe you can get the new transformers, maybe you can't, maybe they've converted to a whole different type of system to, you know, I don't know. I guess I
So they
just don't like.
They'll just change it out to the newer stuff then. On this lease, we don't have to complete it. We don't have to pay out the 20 years. They'll just come in and change everything.
well, so I guess the thing with the lease is that they have a money making incentive too on their side, which they're,
Exactly,
Yeah.
bang.
but what
We
we're-
don't get anything for free, that's what I'm saying.
I think-
We're not gonna reap those rewards.
but I guess what I'm trying to get at there is that they want to see. So I don't get, I just want to say, first off, I don't care which way you guys go, honestly. I just want you guys to make a philosophy decision, because either way that you select to go, I want to solicit bids from multiple companies and vendors to get us the best deal with, no matter which philosophy you go. Now, on the leasing part, they have an incentive to make sure that it survives for the lease, the length of the lease, because they want to make sure that they get the full reward of the 25-year period. So it's not as if they're gonna, they have a financial incentive to not just walk away from it. So, yeah, I mean, they are gonna make money off of it. And so that's the downside to leasing, that they will make some of the money that we otherwise might have made if we owned it.
I just think they're making a lot of money. To put in a field like that, I think they're making a lot of money that we're throwing away by leasing it versus buying it. But I understand the problem. I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm gonna vote that we buy it. You guys vote the way you're gonna.
Well, but we need to revisit the way we're spending elsewhere then. Because that, our dollar amounts that we're spending was based on a study that how what we could spend and how much, and now we're gonna be going outside of that brand spending. And spending more.
I just,
have a question.
okay.
I'm not understanding the incentives and the tax rebates for leasing and buying. So are they different? Are they the same? Why?
I don't think, and maybe they're, I don't know, I'm just saying, I don't think we get, if they put in the fill, they're gonna take all the incentive money. And all we're gonna do is pay a lease, but then we get money towards our bill, and I don't think we get any incentive money.
But
I think they're gonna take it all.
it's passed through to us, which is how.
But yeah, pass through to us in the form of that covers our electric bill. That's all they're providing us, correct?
Which is not a small amount. which
No,
is-
it's not. I'm
Sure.
saying, but all that incentive that they're gonna get, it just passes. So they're gonna get a big chunk of money up front within a year. And then all they do is pay our electric. But I mean, and is there a cap on it? So if the electric bills go way up, are they just paying a certain amount? And as they continue to, as the bills continue to grow, do they pay all of it?
So I don't have those details. I have the chart that was put together by our consultant that does the financial models over a 25-year period that I'm basing what I'm basing off of. And so, I guess what I'm just, it doesn't, so no matter how you guys want to look at it, it doesn't, your root concern doesn't change here. It's if you want to take out the additional debt to do this, which debt equals risk, or if you don't care about that, then yes, we can do it and you'll make a little bit more, you'll make more. And so that's your decision point, and that's all that's all I need you guys to do, is decide on that, because the philosophy doesn't change. We might be talking about $1 million here or even less than that over 25 or 30 years. We could haggle over those numbers, or how many, what happens whenever energy prices, spike. I just need you guys to decide on the philosophy. That's all I need from you right now, because we're not selecting a vendor, we're just, the philosophy is the same for.
And my point is, $1 million can go along with, good portion of something in that infrastructure.
My always concern with some of these things that come along is anything that the government feels to make people to buy it or to incentivize, a big, people to go out and buy it. If they have to start throwing a lot of tax dollars, which in turn is our tax dollars, to encourage you to go buy an electric car or to buy this or buy that, then I instantly have my antenna up being concerned, because I'm thinking, if it's really such a great deal for me to go buy, why do I need such a large incentive to go out and have the government subsidize? And maybe it would take that just at the very beginning to start it, but they've been pushing this out for quite a while, because they've had some of these incentives out there for a long time, because there was a few concerns. I mean, back when we had solar with the farmers that was being approached by the solar farms with the leases and things, it was big money they were talking about, and those companies flat out said that, yeah, if the incentives went away, they were gone. They weren't going to be able to do what they were doing. And so, my concern is like, well, if you have such a great product, why wouldn't you still be able to get out and sell what a great product you are, that you have for solar for the communities and for the people. But because the tax dollars go away, then you're telling me that you're going away. And so I guess that's what always concerns me about these kind of things. And then, like I said, it's back to what Joe said too, is you have to decide, how tight you want to do your budget. And, by doing this, then of course, there's going to be other things that, we just won't be able to do, because we do have a limited debt service. The village will be allowed to borrow for other things. And so that's where you're going to have to decide as trustees, is this where you want to put that debt service money towards the solar?
And we have direction for the ARPA money right now.
You can't spend it on this.
You can't,
No,
can't spend it on an improvement.
it's, so I would be willing to bet you a meal at Rocks that you can't spend it on this. I would just be willing to bet you. Now they have expanded the uses, but I would just be totally shocked based on a lot of the webinars I've sat in on and some of that somebody hasn't come up with this yet.
And the other thing, we've already for the past year dedicated that ARPA money for the other projects that we've already committed to. So to me, that would in turn would, you're still gonna have to borrow the money somehow, to where, if you move one project to the next project, the fact is that money still is gonna have to be borrowed.
Well, I always like baseball, and I just soon catch some of the federal dollars on behalf of the citizens of St. Joe and own our own solar. And that way, with the amount of electricity, especially with the location out in the sewage plant in that vicinity, the amount of electricity going to use, it might significantly reduce operating costs.
So, and that's fine, I guess. So whenever you guys, so your options are to purchase it, to lease it, or you don't have to do any of them at all. So that is an option too. As soon as I know, I'm going to start going through a formal bid request process, because I would like to get that wrapped up so we can get on the schedule with one of these companies by we missed the spring window. So we're on the verge of missing the summer window next year also. If we don't get if I can't figure it out. But if you don't want to do anything, that's an option too. I'm not trying to.
Well, the other thing I don't like is we don't really have to know what we're dealing with. You're asking me.
My questions are,
I understand where you're coming from, to say lease or buy, but I would rather see a hard like estimate on both accounts so I can make it a objective. My thing is probably always gonna be to buy. But if you show me something on leasing and we're not saving any money, then why buy it? I totally agree with everybody else. I'm just saying, these people don't do anything for nothing. They're not out here trying to make our lives better and woo-hoo, they go to the bar and say, we helped out St. Joe today.
He
We're so
gave,
proud of ourselves.
but the thing is he did give you the estimated savings.
He estimated with what, 160 grand.
So-
I just don't buy that's what it is.
What I could do is I could solicit proposals and have vendors from both purchasing options and vendors from leasing options and structure them to come in here to your guys' meetings. And they can give you presentations and they can all give you their different presentations and you can hear it from multiple vendors on which one if you want. We can do that and get it on a cycle and do that in the month of October and I can get them in here. If you guys want to, that's
I think that.
And you get some questions.
yeah, I'll get as many as you guys want and you can sit through them and.
I mean, I'd be more interested in local people than people from Texas over here putting in things, and then when something goes bad, they're like, Texas.
This isn't this, but the thing is that there's only so many people that do wastewater treatment plants. And so I don't want to go with just a local company. I want to go with a company that's done sewer plants before, just because that's a totally different animal. And if they have experience doing that and had success, like the one that's submitted the least, they've done numerous municipalities. You know, and there's another one it's called Sun something, obviously Sun something, but in Wisconsin. That's all they do. They do municipalities, heavy facilities like this, and they're used to working with the public sector, which we're not just like a normal factory that's, you know, that's my hard preference there is somebody that has worked with this.
Yeah.
Would you have the data, how much electricity the sewer plant uses for you to provide it? Say, okay, this is how much.
I've already done that. That's how these guys are giving us these estimates based on the kilowatts for the sewer plant. So he used our actual data from the sewer plant to generate the estimates. It's not like he just.
But in his estimate, he had $10,000 in maintenance fees in there, and he said something about maintaining the ground. We already maintain the ground. We already mow it. So it's not like.
But it would be different mowing it with the solar fields on top of them, though. I don't think that I mean, it's not gonna be able to just go out and whip the mower around through there. You're gonna have all the individual pillars and wires and things to be mowed, so it's gonna be a little more.
I think the wires took up on the solar panels.
I just know the ones that I've looked at, like the one that's off of Windsor there. Because I think they contract a certain particular person to come and do the mowing and stuff there, because there is so many things to work around that, you know, it's not gonna be like mowing park.
So could we go to Savoy and see theirs and talk to them about theirs?
That was gonna be my.
I know it's not a super thing. It's not a super thing. We have to keep that in mind, but I feel like we still have a lot of questions, and I'm not trying to drag this out, but I just don't.
So I'm not trying to be flippant whenever I say this, but I would encourage each one of you to go and talk to some of these vendors. I've talked with them. And so I think I have a general idea of what these vendors are gonna say. And I think that it would be helpful if you all heard it from them. That's why I'm saying I'm gonna structure your meetings to where you have 2 or 3 of these people coming in here for a couple of meetings in a row and giving you the presentations. And you can hear it from them, if that's helpful.
That or, do we know any municipalities that are leasing currently?
Yes, and I can get you the
That would
information.
be fantastic to ask them their opinion. Do you regret leasing? Do you wish you'd bought? Do you know, that would be
I can do that.
fantastic. So
Also, Joe, you know, if our new sewer plant's gonna require more power.
It should be more efficient.
Well, that's what it could be more efficient, where it takes less, so I don't know.
It will be more efficient.
The oxidation trench alone is supposed to cut down a lot of it. But you also got the ultraviolet lights, but all that with it, I mean, that was a question I asked when took the tours. And the numbers I was given is ought to be at, twice as efficient.
So then that extra power that we're getting back, that we're saving, do they pay other things in or just the sewer pipes? So then they get.
I don't know, you'd have to relegate that to each building, but I mean, we've got enough electric bills that, I mean, you could.
That's what I'm saying.
Offset.
I think
Allocate.
there's different ways you can set it up. I believe their way is just going to benefit the sewer plant, correct? I think.
But if our power goes down,
Well-
they allocated some.
Another reason, and I wouldn't get into this, but I was in favor of buying it. They look at the total electric usage. Okay, if it's not generating anything, you're buying electricity, but like when there's no sunlight. So you're buying it if it's 8 or 10 cents a kilowatt hour, you know, but you know, if the extra goes in there and they pay you like 2 cents. And there's different returns like that. So it might actually be that if we looked at that, we're gonna have to buy it anyway at night. You might not need quite a big plant because you're gonna be buying it anyway. You're looking at the daylight operation.
So I guess if I'm hearing you all correctly, what I will do is I'll start inviting some salespeople here. And they'll come to meetings and they can give you guys presentations and we can go through the details and then you can ask the questions that I'm able to answer for you on this. And then I will talk with
I
the.
hope that they can explain a little better too, as far as, since we are a municipality, the whole tax incentive thing is gonna be a whole, completely different on how it applies to us. Because we, don't do our income tax filing every year, to where I'm curious to see how those incentives come back to us.
Oh, easing against farming, because
Yeah.
that's what the big discussion has been here. That's just a big question that I have.
And maybe
I may
on
not
the
understand this.
municipality side, you are better than us. Not saying I know all, I'm just saying residentially, you're not better than us. I know when you lease residentially, you give up all your incentives.
Right.
And they take all your incentives and I don't even know what they give.
And yeah, and I fully understand that yes, if you were a homeowner and it probably would, yeah, if you wanted those tax incentives, that's the only way you're gonna get them, so that would make sense to go for that.
I'd be interested to hear what the municipalities say.
Yeah.
If they've had regrets if they leased or regrets if they bought. I will get that.
Thank you.
Good with that? All right. We're gonna jump down to number 3 on our new business. The authorizing of the adoption of the Illinois Municipal Funds e-pay. Joe, it's in your packet. You have questions for Joe. They've sat through you and Ashley and Debbie's already sat through one of their.
For the sewer bills, you get.
It will, and also any other type of bill that we charge. So if somebody needs to make a payment to us for whatever reason, they can go into our portal and pay it.
I think it's a fantastic idea. If nobody has any questions, I'll make a motion that we accept it.
Second.
And it seemed pretty seamless, didn't it, when you were talking with them?
Yeah, no, it's pretty easy. It'll replace our current card reader. We'll get rid of that and then we'll have to have an education period for customers that, hey, you can go here and do it 10 at night if you want to, or whenever they want to actually make a
Can you
payment.
set up for automatic payments?
Our current auto pay will not change.
Okay.
So, but only our card reader. So people that are currently on direct debit won't have to make any changes. They're already set up.
I was gonna mention too, that maybe we need to incentivize another round for not only people to do the auto pay, but also the electronic statements.
We can do that.
I just think, to fully educate more and more people out in the community that that's available to them. And sometimes a slight incentive, a gift card somewhere, will maybe get them to pay attention and, I thought it was pretty successful the first time that we did it. To maybe, oh my gosh, what a savings it would be to the village if we got half of our people, getting their bills electronically, and having the direct deposit amount. I mean, it would just save the girls tons of time in the office and paper and gonna talk about a printer here in a minute. And so, so if you guys want to put that together, maybe for the fall,
Yeah, that
do
sounds good.
another incentive.
We still
thing.
have to vote on it. We haven't voted on it yet.
Yes. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
thank you. 4-0.
Okay, authorizing the adoption and update of, the new locus. It's the new version of
That's
locus.
a low guy. I'm sorry.
It is, ours is out of date, we're due for an update, so
Actually, looks like it's a cost savings.
it'll, yeah, so it'll be a good thing for us to do. Now, there's a 6-month waiting period to get on their list for implementation. Implementation could take under a month, but it could take some time, just depending on how long it takes them. We're gonna be switching to more of like a cloud-based system rather than a in-house system, which is pretty antiquated at this point. But anyway, no, it's just time to update. If we can always get out of it at some point, but I just need to get on their list so they can schedule us, and it would be nice to get them in here January or February if things are a little slower for everybody.
I make a motion that we adopt and update.
I'll second it.
Painter,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
4-0.
All right, item number 5, exhibit number 13 is authorizing copier provider service. In your packet, there's the information in regards to who they have talked to.
So, we gave our current company a chance, and then just it's not working out, we wasted more time, staff time than what's, than what we should have, so we've justified any cost to get out of it, so we went down to a month-to-month arrangement with our current company whenever we switched machines last year, and ultimately it's just not working. This company submitted a bid back whenever we first considered changing last year, and we didn't go with them as a way to give our current company a chance to try to get our issues fixed. The major issue we're having is we can't print the bill cards, and which isn't all that complicated of a task, but we just continue to have issues with that. So I thought I had the 36-month price in here in the packet for you, but am I missing it, or did I?
It's good what you said.
Sorry, give me 1 second, because I want to give you that price if it's not included in here.
I think it's in the- I think it's in the-
Okay,
yeah. Okay.
You don't feel like we need to go month to month with these guys as well? You feel like this is.
I mean, they're gonna upgrade us to a commercial grade copier, which I didn't even realize the one that we have is not. It's more of a home office, like lighter scale copier. And I would prefer us stick with the lower term with them. It was 36 months. I can't see what their price would be for a month to month. It would just be significantly higher than what they quoted us for the 60-month.
I don't want to get locked in and then, do us any better. Is it under the agreement that it better print the cards, or we're canceling, or?
Well, I'll have, so if you guys are okay with this, I can talk with Mark about looking at the lease agreement with the copier company and seeing where I know you're excited about that, but what it would look like to exit in, or what circumstances, but they've guaranteed that the copier they'll provide us will be able to print the bills, because they've taken a big stack of them and tried them. And did it, so they're guaranteeing that, but we could put something maybe more formal in there that allows us some way to get out. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, they either perform or they don't. So all we care about is exit. That's the part of the contract you care about. Because if we're stuck in something that goes for 2 years and we don't have any maturity to get out of it, we're stuck.
So I guess if you guys are okay with a 36-month term. Or I guess if the 60-month term is good, if the language to exit, if they're not providing the service that we expect them to is good, then
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna vary with the company. I don't know how excited they're gonna be to customize their language. And I don't know if it's a big enough deal where they're gonna be willing to do that, but it's worth the try based on the bad experience we've had so far.
We've been with Watts at the school district for 16 years, and we're on our fourth round of replacements. We just got them today. They're fantastic as far as customer service. They have techs that are in the area to fix. We run card stock through ours, which is the heavier than the bills. We have no issues. And we go 61 every time, but they'll come and give you a new option after 3 years to buy out the rest of your lease and get your new machines into a new lease.
so that was unplanned, but I knew that the schools were with them, but thank you for.
The high school district, the high school districts with them also.
So, that is another thing, is that we've had our other taxing bodies in the community that have been good luck with them as well. But I guess if you are okay with it, you can, I mean.
I was gonna ask about the cost of sheet, but hearing that the schools, everybody's using the same one without any problems. It seems like, given all the problems you had, it seemed like a logical way to rectify it.
Should be taken to the school on front.
Yeah, there you go.
8 cents per copy.
Probably be cheaper.
All right, their pricing structure is in the email that I gave you, so currently we're paying 0.012 in black and white, and with Watts under a 60-month, it would be 0.008. So it's a pretty substantial change per page.
I'll make a motion, we do this. 60 months there.
I'll second.
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Rath,
Yeah.
Wagner,
Yes.
Painter,
Yeah.
Cora.
All right, the next item in your packet is the ordinance approving the land purchase agreement. It's item number 14. This is. Spoke about that. Executive session. You want to explain that further as far as?
I make a motion that we.
Second.
I'll get you the ordinance number later. From the ordinance.
Thank you.
Yep.
Rath,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Cora.
Item number 7 is something we had spoke about earlier in the year about amending the number of the T2 liquor license. That's for the special events per calendar year. Previously, we had it set at 6. I think you guys decided to go ahead and move it to 10 per year. I said you guys determined that a while back. This is just the official procedure implementing that in our liquor ordinance.
Did we get any attachment for that?
No, so this was more just to be another discussion.
Okay, that's
opportunity.
fine.
So, if you all are okay with 10 times. Is that, in that way?
Well, is this what? So is this what we're getting into with?
No,
That's not the same thing, okay.
Well, it's the same type of license that they would have to apply for, but you actually have to apply for the license.
Right, but I'm just saying, it seems like that's a new big thing for him, so is he gonna be in here every week trying to get?
That might be a discussion for another day too, as far as the location. On where these occur, because some of these T2 license, a special, because we have it in place that we do the special event permits that we approve. And that gives you the location and all that we take into consideration, but I do think that is something that we need to plan for, as far as locations, because some special events that are in one location that people hardly even notice what's going on is one thing, but another location, such as blocking down the middle of Main Street. And as we know right now, having Main Street blocked down is an inconvenience for everybody. That is something that you guys will have to consider as you're approving them as you go along the way. But that's kind of a whole different topic. The T2s, if it's in a location that is out of mind, out of sight kind of a thing, and they just need that, having the extra ones, I don't see that it's gonna make much difference. But then again, that's up to you guys too. I mean, currently, Rocky does use up all of his throughout the summer. I know if we allowed him to have a couple more, he probably would use them, because they said they do seem to be quite popular. But that is something that we need to keep in mind is the location when we approve these things. The inconvenience and, it might even be such a thing that you want to add the language to get each one of these before we get them permission is that they do have to get something in writing from their neighboring businesses that, especially if it's going to interfere with their business. Now, if the business is closed and it's not interfering with their business at all, then that's one thing. But so the T2 licensing is just a matter of how many you want to allow per year.
well, we have the option to deny it. And we just talked about strategic planning and economic growth. And so are we gonna talk out of both sides of our mouth? I mean, I'm just saying, those are things for me that, where my brain is still at.
Yeah, because like I said, to me, it's always a difference in the location of where it's being asked for. If it's, say for example, if Tracy would want to do some special events over here by her new winery over here and, do something and, ask us to use the parking lot or something and said, that's kind of out of the way and it's not really going to interfere with anybody. And if for some reason she thought she could use up 10, I mean, that's a lot of work, but, because each one of those events it require them to do some work to get it planned, but I don't know. It's up to you guys.
I'm fine with it.
I do have one question. It's about the liquor license. Why do we continue? We should maybe look at changing the Sunday or noon thing.
You mean
I
at
think
IGA?
that-
Anyway.
Well, in Urbana, it's still that too, at Walmart.
Is that
Not
not
that
something weird?
Might be a state.
I thought it was.
No, because I go around often and buy it. I mean, because
Maybe they're not supposed to be, I don't know. That happens sometimes
A lot of other
too.
places too, but I don't know if something we can look at, if it's something that. It is a state thing or what it is, but. It's just you're throwing, having people over. You
I
don't
mean,
want
it's
to leave
something
a
that
person to buy liquor.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
double check that it's not a
You can
state.
say that, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, Mark, do you have an idea if it is state mandated or if it's
That was
something that's
Sunday, you
local?
can't sell liquor.
No, it's a local thing.
Okay.
I thought so, because
Well, that was an easy answer, so if you all want to change it, you can talk about it. I guess I have another change request that we have while we're talking about amending this, we have some of our licensees that are coming in the very last possible second to get it.
Yeah, we need to put a time frame on.
That's what, so I would like, that's what I would like to do. It would help, it especially would help Debbie and Ashley a lot. When have for fielding a request at the last second, if we put if you don't come in, there's a week, I think a week.
What's wrong with 10 days?
I think,
Only 72 hours. 3 days, just 3 days ahead of time.
And if you don't get it, just go ahead and
well, I guess my thought would be is just you all pick a timeline that you're okay with us being firm on. But if they don't get here on the timeline that they just can't get it and it'll be denied. And just have it by ordinance so they know, so there's no coming in here and saying, you know, could you guys drop everything that you're doing and chase me down and.
Well, here's the other thing I'm gonna say, and I get what you're saying about the 72 hours, but this is a 2-girl office. And so if one's gone, if somebody's had surgery and they're up, if they've been on vacation or whatever, it's one person. And 72 hours might not be reasonable for that.
I'd say 5 days.
And then also with the liquor licenses, I have to sign them also. And I usually have to sign it before they take it to Springfield to get the approval from Springfield. And then we add the number to the license that they will have to post. Then I have to sign that too. So some of these people who come in at the last minute and need it that night. That
Feel like we're talking about one person.
it's right in my voice, but
Yeah, it's not, it's more than what I'm,
there is a couple that are
Yeah.
take their time getting.
5 days.
that's, and whatever you all got here,
Fair.
go ahead.
Is it week 5 or is it week 7?
We could say 5 calendar days,
Okay.
or 5, no, 5 days, five.
If you feel like this is long enough.
I think that's reasonable,
Okay.
and then, 5 business days, but just so you know, if you all have been that. We're gonna hold them to it, so there might be some, like unhappiness, but then it gives us a little bit more backing too.
And I think that becomes a struggle. If 5 is really not enough, come back and I think we should talk about it and look at changing it again.
Okay. Well, then we can work on getting the event ready for you and hopefully get that knocked out at the next meeting.
Do you need a motion for the?
Those were just direction. Yeah.
Okay, item number 8, exhibit number 16 is the express employment professional service agreement.
Just need a motion to.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Wagner,
Yes.
Gainer,
Yes.
Cummings,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
4-0.
Number 9 is the service agreement with I didn't realize Vesto was part of theirs, but Vesto and Royal County Service.
Have you heard of them?
Gusto is a software that Royal has a. Arrangement.
So that's all included in the service
Yes.
agreement. Okay.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Cummings,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Gainer,
Yes.
4-0.
The group were pretty excited about setting that up too. It seemed like. I think that will be very helpful for them in the office. So.
We'll begin staff training and getting all the employees to know how to use it. This month and get that implemented.
Okay, Joe, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, so next meeting, we'll be having a tip consultant here, so just be prepared for that. And then I'm working closely with regional planning on the Safe Routes to School application. We've got Clark Beats in motion working on it, and we have to do some work with the schools. I'll be at the elementary school, middle school board meeting on the 14th with RPC to go over our project, and it's looking pretty good, so I'll keep you updated on it.
I just want to bring up one quick point with having a TIP consultant here at the next meeting. I know, just from what we went through the last time, I know after the last meeting that we had with Mark, brought us the information. I know for me, and I told Joe, I said, it brought in a lot of new information to me that for whatever reasons, we were not made aware of at the last time, some of the concerns that was with the schools and, you know, the different things that, you know, how the schools were, you know, very concerned about the finances and stuff, but with the information that Mark presented to us, you know, to me, that changes the whole discussion completely because, you know, it doesn't hurt the schools financially like it was our understanding the last go round when we were talking about that. And I'm a little frustrated that for whatever reasons, we weren't given that information or, you know, had that explanation as we were trying to wade our way through that mess. So, you know, just so that the public knows, to me, it's kind of a lot of new things been brought to light that to me does make it an entire new discussion. So I will be interested in, and you know, I'm hoping that the public and the schools and everything have a clear understanding too, that it's a whole different conversation than what we had a few years back.
So the school gonna come too?
I'm
No.
welcome.
So the part of the problem that you guys had last time is that it became a circus. And you had too many people, you had too many cooks in the kitchen. And so I think it would be more effective if you work through me and you work through the two superintendents and you can negotiate that way for the bulk of it. We will be sure to educate the two boards, the school boards.
Yeah.
And keep them up to date, but it's
If I will not, I refuse to go through it, we went through last time.
So do the school boards set how the school?
I just want to-
Policy, right? They don't manage the day-to-day stuff, right? That's their job, right? Right. School boards to set policy, not
I
to.
want to be well informed before I go through what we went through last.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing, so I'm just telling you.
It was a
I'm just
nightmare.
which
I'm just telling you,
I
your
think-
job is to set
Well,
policy.
I'm just telling you that I'm not gonna go through it, and I don't want to agree with it unless we get to my board.
It's one person.
So, which is why I think that it'd be easier for me to come back to you all and negotiate, for Brian to go to his board, negotiate, and for Lance to his board, and that way.
I mean,
We're speaking, we know how to, for the most part, speak. Your all's language, and Brian knows how to speak his, and then that way it'd just be a little bit more efficient.
we had people yelling at each other, it was terrible.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that.
I kind of felt it,
Before.
some of it, I told you. So, but I think, you know, with Mark's presentation and then Joe's already had some good conversations with both superintendents and I just think it's not gonna be
Well,
anything like last time.
And we didn't have an administrator. So,
Anyway, Mark, do you have anything to add tonight?
I do not.
Okay, very good. Tiffany?
No.
Good. Mike and Luke? They both on?
Yes, I have one thing. I'll have a report I just got late last night. And then some other information about IPW Man. The report of what we saved being part of that organization. And I'll have a whole wrote up situation of how it went down and how we went about it and the savings that we accomplished through IPW Man and then the expenses that we paid on top of that. I'll have that next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Luke. So, I really don't have any updates. I know Joe's touching base with whoever might be going to the IML conferences. Work through Joe, if you're planning on going to do that. I just want to encourage everybody to visit the festival this weekend. The weather looks like it should be pretty decent for that. I want to have have Nora throw it out there. I've got 2 people movers from the INI Tractor Club that I'm hoping to fill with our seasoned citizens. And if they would like to join into the parade with the other senior citizens of our community, just to meet across from the middle school at the open lot there where the old children's home used to be. And we'll be getting on those, setting up about 2:30, so they can be in the parade. I think it's nice to honor our seniors here in our community. So anyway, so that's really all that I have. And I did forget to bring, I was gonna bring a card for us all to sign for Debbie. And I dropped the ball and I forgot my card, so, but I will have a card in here at the office. So if you guys have a chance, can you stop by and sign it? And we'll get that to her, so that's what I have. Trustees, do you have anything? No?
No.
So we need to go into executive session, so, Jerry,
I make a motion to enter into executive session for the limited purpose of discussing the lease of real property for the use by the village pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2 C3. A motion to enter into executive session for the limited purpose of discussing the employment, compensation, and performance of one or more village employees pursuant to 5